Hello and welcome to South Asia Focus. I'm Smita Prakash. This week we have with us Rajeshwari Rajgopalan, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation and an expert on Asian politics. We'll speak to her about the elections in Afghanistan and the country's political future. But before that, here's a brief introduction of the ongoing elections in Afghanistan. The first round results announced by the Independent Election Commission after Afghanistan's landmark elections show National Coalition's Abdullah Abdullah with an apparent lead with 44.9% of the vote. Independent candidate Ashraf Ghani Ahmadzai is currently second with 31.5% vote. Sitting President Hamid Karzai's preference, former Foreign Minister Zalmay Rasool, is trailing at third position with 11.5% of the total votes. None of these candidates have been able to get the 50% plus vote share needed to ensure a win in the first round. Therefore, the Afghanistan election is set to go to a second round with a face-off between Abdullah Abdullah and Ashraf Ghani. The final result will not be clear till May 14th, as an investigation is likely of up to 500,000 votes, as they are suspected to be false. And even if they are counted, it's highly unlikely they would propel Abdullah to over 50% vote share. So the second round, which could be announced soon, can take place on June 7th. But a second round is also seen as a dangerous proposal if one considers the security apprehensions and significantly the expenditure bill for the first round was calculated to be more than $100 million. Thank you for speaking with us. Elections in Afghanistan, now everybody calls it a landmark election. I mean, that's a cliche. 6.9 million voters and over 30% of them women. Yes. They defied the threat by Taliban. How did this come about? Was it expected or beyond expectations?
In a sense, I think when you look at the this year's elections, there have been a couple of surprises. First surprise is that the election went about at all in the first place, because there were suspicions that maybe Hamid Karzai, who's not able to contend for a third term given the limitations given in the Afghanistan constitution, there was suspicion that Hamid Karzai may come about to kind of somehow cancel the elections or postpone at least in the first place. So that did not happen. I think that was the first major surprise that came about.
You mean there were fears that he would not want a legacy behind him, but
yes.
complete destruction once
he left. In some sense you could say that, he might want to kind of postpone it, saying that maybe elections is not the right time for the elections, and maybe we had to look at how the security situation improves. And there again, there are several question marks out there in the open rather than answers and solutions to that particular situation. So in a sense, that is the first surprise, that the elections took place at all. I think that came about. The second major surprise when you look at the Afghanistan elections is one was the turnout of the elections. At least going by some of the initial reports coming from there, it looks like something like 58% turnout of the elections. And I think that's a significant number. And you brought out, you said rightly, about 38% women voters. Again, defying the Taliban threats and so on and so forth. Again, that's a major aspect. But it also brings out another important element. In a sense, I think this was, again, you saw that there were some violence and so on and so forth. But you could see that despite all the threats and violence, a few attacks here and there, it was the Afghan national security forces were able to control the situation to a great extent.
Was there any interest that the Taliban would have, a long-term or a short-term interest, for letting these elections carry on, letting it happen?
Okay, I don't really see a particular interest from the Taliban side to have these elections go by and then have some sort of a government in place. It's good for the Americans. It's good for the Western forces. It's or even for India to say that we have had a political process that has led to a successive government in place. But what is the interest for the Taliban in a sense?
Would Pakistan have played a role in reining in the Taliban and allowing the elections to happen? Because there were fears that Pakistan would not allow it. I mean, the Afghan intelligence themselves said that Pakistan is not playing ball. They're not going to allow the elections to happen. So did they actually play ball ultimately and allow the elections?
It's very difficult to kind of predict with some sort of certainty on some of these issues, because if the same Pakistan Afghanistan intelligence report, when you look at it, they were very clear that there were clear instructions in Pakistan to close some of the madrasas early this year, and so that some of the students can come into Afghanistan to start the fight once, especially the drawdown of the forces, ISAF and the US forces leave towards the end of the year or by early next year, certainly. So, and also this happens in the backdrop of the disagreements between Karzai and the Americans on the settling their bilateral security cooperation, settling security agreement. In a sense, Karzai has not been giving in to the US demand to come out with this. Again, a couple of different reasons why this could have happened. One is that, okay, Karzai is not going to get re-elected, so there is no motive for him to kind of for him to sign on.
But he is backing one of the candidates, right?
He's backing one of the candidates, but that candidate is third or fourth in a sense in the line, so he's not coming anywhere. The first two of them are obviously Abdullah with the highest number of votes as of now, and then Ashraf Ghani. So I think Abdullah has got a better thing, given that about fifth of the voting counting has happened, and he's already got something like 44.9%. So
yeah, but now let's come to what has happened. I mean, it's kind of strange that so much money went into it, so much of effort went into this election, praised all over the world for having somewhat, I mean, no election is perfect, but then they did have an election.
That's right.
Against all odds, and we still don't have a result. I mean, we feel disappointed in South Asia. You can imagine how the Afghans feel now. You know, would they? Is there a sense in Afghanistan that democracy is really not going to work because we don't have a result?
It could be a lot of frustration and at some level and disappointment, as like you said, but how is this going to play out is what we need to kind of see. Okay, May 14th is when they are going to kind of finish the election results counting, and some sort of results will be announced by then. And the second aspect is that if neither of the candidates are going to have a clear majority, that is, if they do not cross the 50% mark, then they have to go for runoff elections in a sense. So that's another process you're talking about. So one is spending a lot of money in it and kind of things. And again, are we going to get, even after this process, are you going to get a clear majority for one of the candidates?
And there's no chance of a coalition government?
Abdullah has made I think he made a statement saying that he's not interested in making a coalition government in a sense, because given that obviously the various some of these candidates are supported by various tribal and ethnic formations in a sense. For instance, I think some of the groups are supported by the Uzbeks and some of them by Tajiks and so on and so forth. So it is a tribal society at the end of the day, and each of them are kind of promoting somebody or the other in a sense. So there are a lot of internal clashes in that sense.
So a coalition is not a probability.
Coalition is very unlikely, and Abdullah is at some level a preferred candidate for India and a lot of other countries, because Abdullah is seen as a much more, in relative terms.
But India and Pakistan both did not openly come out and back any one candidate, isn't it?
Yeah, we did not, but at the same time, generally we have been much more
leaning towards Abdullah.
Yeah, exactly, leaning towards Abdullah, because he has an image of at least in relative terms, to talk about it being a more liberal person, a much more moderate person. And also, at least in one public statement, he has come out actually stating the rights of women and rights and equality of women and so on and so forth. So there has been some sort of a more positive approach towards Abdullah.
So a government will have to be in place soon.
Absolutely.
Before the drawdown takes place, isn't it?
Yes.
So the Americans would also be very keen that there should be some kind of a closure quickly, political closure, if nothing else.
Yeah, before they want to get out, they want to say that no, we have put in place after the attacks in 2001 when they came into the country and kind of in a sense. But today, when they have to get out, they have to have a face-saving exit option, which is to have some sort of a political structure put in place so that they can say, no, we came in with this particular issue, we have sorted out the Taliban, we have sorted out the Al-Qaeda, and now we are running back after putting a stable government in place. So everybody...
They have put in a lot of effort for this.
Absolutely.
No, but what happens if even in the runoff, we don't get a clear result? Then what happens?
That's a million-dollar question in a sense, and I think some of the reports have been saying that we will go for another round of elections, and that I do not again see as a very, very possible thing for a variety of...
Does it become like, is there any chance of like Karzai declaring a political emergency, waiting for the drawdown to happen and then have another election? Could that be a grand plan that Karzai, because you know everybody has motives put for Karzai every time. I mean, the trust level that people have on Karzai, fortunately, unfortunately, is very low. So do you think that could have been a grand plan of his?
I don't know whether there's a grand plan that has been there. Obviously, he wanted to stay on in power for a third term, and the one is that the limitation imposed by the constitution.
2 terms.
Yeah, 2 terms, and beyond that, no. Second, even the US was not particularly forthcoming. Obviously, the kind of in the last few years, it's been a sort of troubled relations between Karzai and Washington political leadership in a sense. So it's not been exactly a very a happy situation for Karzai, even when he was very keen to kind of continue with his off phase. But now, if neither of the candidates, neither Abdullah and Ghani is able to kind of get a 50% mark, obviously that some sort of an emergency situation, emergency announced by Karzai may be the option way out in a sense to sort of, and then later on call for a fresh elections maybe after a year or so. But obviously it is a lot of uncertainty at this point of time, given the kind of, there is no clear picture that's coming out at this stage.
What does it mean for the region, South Asia, you know, that a government should be in place soon after an election? I mean, we've had elections in Pakistan late last year, mid last year. We've had early this year. We've had elections in Bangladesh. India is going through elections, so it's important to have. And Maldives went in for elections too. So it's very important for this region to see a political stability in Afghanistan, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think from India's perspective as well as from a regional perspective, when you look at it, having a stable government is very, very important, very critical for its own stability, in addition to all the other factors that we just talked about. But how soon that can be happen, because even when you look at it from a regional perspective, we don't have a coherent, cogent view from South Asia. Different countries have different pictures as to how they look at.
Unlike ASEAN or
exactly.
You know, unlike
and
EU,
when it comes to
exactly
when it comes to Afghanistan, for instance, India has a very different view. Pakistan has a very
diametrically different,
completely different, opposite view of how they look at stability in Pakistan, Afghanistan, in a sense. So in a sense, obviously they have had much difficulty if India is going to, if India is to make a kind of a move into Afghanistan to stabilize in political terms or even economic terms.
And India has its problem in
the
whole strategic depth
exactly
that Pakistan has. India has a problem with that.
Exactly. Yeah, there has been a lot of issues. But even for India, it is not just economic or political issues, but we are also looking at the Afghanistan as an important transit corridor in a sense. For instance, our connectivity with the Central Asian region. I think that's again an important consideration that has been kind of made in our policies.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
And we should regroup next month and discuss when the results are out.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. And thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.